everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. I don't post opinions, politics, anything like that. I just like to post pictures or my drawings, and that's about it. So give that a look if you're interested. Also, I have posted a link to the Marvel fan site, Marvel database, however you want to call it, that has plot synopsis of what we're going to be looking at today. We're going to be looking at Giant Size X-Men #1. We're going to be looking at two versions of it, and then we're also going to be looking at Classic X-Men #1. Now, I do not have the original Giant Size X-Men. I do have several, however, um, different variations of it. I have a one of those new Marvel Epic collections. I have a several reprints that have been done through the years. Um, and I have the Marvel, what are they called? Masterworks edition. I even have the black and white version of it. But we're going to actually be looking at three versions of this. We're going to be looking at the original Giant Size X-Men. We're going to be looking at Classic X-Men #1, which reprints Giant Size X-Men, but I think they does a better job, believe it or not. And then we're going to look at the new Giant Size X-Men that was released, I believe, 2 years ago, and each page, I believe, was drawn by a different artist. So we're going to look at that one third. So we're going to look at Giant X-Men #1 first, then Classic X-Men #1, and then the remastered Giant Size X-Men #1. So this cover by Gil Kane with Dave Cockrum as your inker. Dave Cockrum draws the inside, but Gil Kane responsible for this cover. Very iconic. This cover has been imitated many, many, many times. This features Wolverine's third appearance, I believe. He had three appearances in the Hulk, a cameo, his considered his first appearance, then another cameo, and then this. So, all right, so here we go. So this is how Giant Size X-Men #1 starts. This is not by Chris Claremont. Len Wein was actually the writer, and Dave Cockrum wrote. Thomas Zukowski did not start X-Men until I believe John Byrne started taking it over. So, all right. And here in the background, we can see some duo shade that was already being done. This came out, I believe, in 1975. I was 1 year old. Wolverine, Thunderbird, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Sunfire, Banshee, Storm, and then the original X-Men, Jean Grey, which was Marvel Girl at that time, Angel, Cyclops, Beast, and Iceman. Although Beast, I believe, had already left during this time. I don't like this picture of Banshee, the mouth, just all black. It just doesn't look good, but all right. Most of you should have already seen you've most likely seen other people show this, and you already most likely know the story about it. But first we start out with Nightcrawler in Germany, and the people are gonna try to kill him because he looks demonic, and then Professor Xavier saves him. We're basically starting out without knowing what's happening to the X-Men. So now we're in Canada, of course. Wolverine, Xavier recruits him. Wolverine accepts and leaves in bad terms. This is actually going to set up a story of about a year down the road or so. And then Banshee, and then Storm. So She's able to control weather. Banshee has the sonic screams. Nightcrawler can teleport. We're now in Japan with Sunfire. And now we're in Russia with Colossus, who can turn his body into living metal. Although once he saved her, he probably could have kept running with her, but that's alright. Then we can't do a story. And so Professor X is trying to recruit all these different mutants. Here's Thunderbird. Thunderbird ended up being killed off simply because they already had Colossus and they didn't know what to do with 3 strong men, or 2 strong men, so Thunderbird was let go. So now we're gonna kind of find out what's going on. Everybody's got a costume. It's kind of funny that Colossus has these blue pants, but then when he turns into Colossus, they disappear. So the uniform is down here, comes from Reed Richards and Unstable Molecules. So Cyclops is coming in to explain why he is why they need these new X-Men. And so it starts out with, the old X-Men receiving from Cerebro that they have there's a new mutant that's started. Real quick, I want you to realize something. I think they explained this they show this better in Classic X-Men #1, but notice the difference in the visor that Cyclops is wearing to this one here. So it'll be explained, I believe, much better. I think they just write it off here, but so you notice that the visors are different here. So alright, so they go to this island where they believe this mutant is located at, and they're hit. Then he wakes up in the room. He doesn't have his powers, but he doesn't have the ruby quartz either, or the his visor. So no powers, no visor. So off he goes to find Professor X. Oh, they come back. So okay, so here they do explain it. I haven't read the actual first Giant Size X-Men in a long time, but I remember Classic X-Men very well. That was my first exposure. So what happened is, since he didn't have his old, the professor got him new ones, so that's why the visors look the same. So Sunfire's not gonna help. He's like, it's not my problem, and so kind of arrogant. That just kind of plays off with the character. So off they go. Sunfire changes his mind, and now we're going to try to rescue the original X-Men. And so this is kind of pretty different, because these characters don't necessarily act the way we have known them by a certain time, but it's because writers are learning how to interpret. There was no big history, with a lot of these characters. It was kind of all done a little bit at a time. So these, like I said, Wolverine and Nightcrawler, everybody just acts a little different in the beginning until, the characters are fleshed out. Some kind of crab creature. And they're still looking for the new X-Men, or the old X-Men. you can see why this sold well and why it, this restarted the X-Men. So they find the original X-Men. This is Havoc and Polaris, who they were the second members. This is Cyclops' brother. Angel is my favorite X-Men after Wolverine. I can't imagine nobody who doesn't like Wolverine. But here we discovered that the mutant they were looking for is actually the island itself, who's alive, Krakoa. Part of my fascination with Angel and the reason I like him so much is when I was in middle school is when I first started on the X-Men. And one of my earlier issues that I got was X Factor number 10 by Walter Simonson. And the way he drew Angel was just amazing with those big, big, big wings. So I really, really liked them. So they're going to try, you can, there's a lot of, I can't imagine someone not knowing what's going on in Giant Size X-Men #1. So we're just kind of flip through. Eventually, they defeat Krakoa, and they combine their powers to send it to outer space. And when in doubt, send it out to space. So, and thus endeth Giant Size X-Men #1. So now we are going to look at Classic X-Men #1 from 1986. This was my very first exposure to this. I had just gotten into X-Men, and this came out at the most perfect time. How I got into X-Men. This is covers, by the way, is from Arthur Adams. It's quite iconic. And here's another shot of Angel, who at that time, before I really got to learn about Wolverine, just really, 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 really just loved those wings. I remember when I first started and moved from Puerto Rico to Orlando in Florida, and I discovered a comic book store. I remember getting the Defenders because Angel was in it. So love this picture of Wolverine, just the way he had everybody in here. It's pretty cool. So pretty iconic drawing. So this was in the inside of the front cover, and Len Wein, of course, is the writer of Giant Size X-Men, but Chris Claremont did fill-in materials. You're going to see what makes this so much more different. I have 2 copies of this. I have a broken, ripped to shreds copy of this, and I have a newer copy that I ended up finding. So John Bolton is the artist for these newer scenes. So instead of starting the way the other X-Men did, it starts out with that middle portion where Cyclops comes back. I think this is a much better form, a much better way of sort of explaining all that. So he's now going to look for the X-Men. So this kind of starts giving it a reason why. So the other one just sort of started, him looking for those new X-Men. Here it kind of starts from the time Cyclops came in. So Orzechowski is the letterer of these newer portions. But now you go see that we are right where Giant Size X-Men started. So we'll kind of just forward these pictures here. Dave Cockrum was a very serviceable artist during that time. It's his style didn't resonate to me. I came in during the John Romita Jr., Mark Silvestri time frame, Art Adams. So seeing his art, I already thought it was antiquated. So So here, this is now new. Now it just kind of just goes a little different. So this part is new. So they're gonna go rescue the X-Men, and all that battle that took so many pages here was basically done in 2 pages. So everything else we get here is just new stuff. So this is everything that happened after the book ended, the original. So Chris Claremont's just filling up gaps. So Havoc and Polaris are going to leave the X-Men and go back to school. Jean and Cyclops, you can already see a rift happening between Marvel Girl and him, because he wants to do notes for the battle with Krakoa, and so kind of ignoring her. And so she goes outside. Inside, Banshee is playing his piano. Colossus is a drawer. And so here, Nightcrawler kind of scared him. So that's why he turns into Colossus. So then this is Iceman, who's pretty much a teenager at that time, and he's angry that those new X-Men are going to kind of replace them. So he's having like a tantrum like a teenager. And so he attacks Thunderbird. Thunderbird's like, hey, if you don't like us here, that's on you. So, and Jean feels his, she can feel him through their mind. She's psychic as well, or a telepath. Wolverine kind of snuck up on her, and this kind of plays into that dynamic of Wolverine kind of having the hots for her. I love this part here, Angel and Storm together. Very, very cool. Classic X-Men had these very nice backups that just kind of filled in gaps. That was pretty cool. And so Angel can see Wolverine kind of making the moves on Marvel Girl. He doesn't like it. They begin to fight. And so Wolverine's angry. Storm interferes, and he feels a little embarrassed because he's just different. Wolverine hasn't become the Wolverine that we all know and love at this time, and so Professor Xavier says he saw the whole thing through telepathically, and she still hasn't decided what she wants to do, whether to leave or to stay. But anyway, so this would have been classic X-Men #1. So now we are going to look at Giant Size X-Men Tribute to Len Wein and Dave Cockrum. Start out with this great cover by Avi. I'm sorry, I forgot. Avi I'm so sorry. I think they say it inside here. Adi Granov. So, and then this is, of course, Alex Ross. Alex Ross is, of course, unmistakable. Here they kind of tell you what's up, and so this is the image from the inside. And so Here we go. I believe this part here is done by Kevin Nolan, the Nightcrawler. Then this one is Chris Samnee, who is absolutely one of my favorites. He's a great ink slinger. I really enjoy him. Then this is Marcus To, I believe. And Saya Oum. And Steven Segovia. I mean, you can see a more modern take here. Marguerite Sauvage, and then Carmen Carnero, and then Bernard Chang, and then this is Aaron Cooter, and then Takeshi Miyazawa, and then Juan Cabal. I really enjoy this one. Very cool. Then Guy Rihu. More cartoony. That's just, I like that. And then Mark Brooks. And then Chris Anka. And then Phil Noto. Then Valerio Schiti. Looks very close to Stuart Immonen. Then Emanuela Lapuccino. A lot of it. No, this is Leno Francis Yu. I recognize that from anyone. Then Matteo Loli. A lot of Italians. And now we get Emanuela Lapacino. And then Carlos Gomez. And then Ivan Coelho. And then R.B. Silva. And then Ramon Rosanas. And then Joshua Casada. David Baldeón. So probably David. And then Marcelo Ferreira. A lot of Spanish, a lot of Asian, so. And then no, not Rod Race. I think he's next. Javier Garron. That's Rod Rice. Yeah. You cannot. He is another one I like. He's all digital, but I really like him. And then Javier Rodriguez, Pepe Larraz, Jen Bartel, Mike Del Mundo, who I also adore his artwork. And then Raza. And then Marco Cicchetto. And Mike Hawthorne. So, Hope you enjoyed this. Thanks so much for listening. Like and subscribe. Bye.